going on a Marvel movie marathon. I feel like I have been watching these movies like every day, and ever since, WandaVision came out too as well, I've also been obsessed with that show, and I mean, it's so good. I love it. I loved Marvel ever since I was a kid, and I was obsessed with Spider-Man for some reason. In today's video, we're going to talk about some Marvel cinematic facts, and I kind of was like gazing upon some of them, and they were really fun. I didn't realize there was so much to it, but as with everything, there's always something. And I just wanted to share these with you guys. And yeah, let's just go into it. I love that number one is very fitting. Studios often attach code names to projects to keep spoiler hounds from ruining essential details. Tom Hiddleston told the Guardian newspaper that the code name for the first Avengers film was Group Hug. I love that one, actually. Leading up to the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America all received feature films to set up the crossover event. Despite this competition, the Avengers was the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to make $1 billion. The first Avengers set the pace, but it should come as no surprise that Infinity War blew it out of the water. The movie earned over $2 billion at box office worldwide, making it the fourth highest grossing film of all time. It is also the fastest film to reach $1 billion at the worldwide box office ever. Dang. Incredible box office returns were necessary to make Avengers End Game a profit. End Game has been listed as one of the most expensive films ever made, on top of an estimated budget of $356 million. More than $200 million was spent on the marketing campaign for this film. Frankly, we're surprised it needed that big of a marketing campaign after all the hype that was already built up by the end of Avengers Infinity War. Agreed. It's hard to imagine a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie without a Stan Lee cameo. From a bus driver to wedding crasher to intergalactic barber, Lee has made colorful appearances in nearly 60 different Marvel properties, dating back to 1989, when he appeared as a jury member in the TV movie The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. Sadly, Lee's passing means audiences won't be delighted by any further cameos. His final appearance is set to be in 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home. Although he's a pretty big guy, even in everyday life, Chris Hemsworth still needed to gain 20 pounds for Thor. Then, just to make things interesting, he immediately had to slim down for the Formula One movie Rush, and then gain it all back for Thor: The Dark World. His bulking lifestyle included protein-packed meals every 3 hours. His daily intake included 50 grams of cheese a day, 4 eggs, 3 protein shakes. You get the idea. Guy had to eat. The story for Avengers End Game features several of the characters splitting up and going on different journeys through time to find the Infinity Stones. As a result, not everyone needed to read the full script, which also meant that it could be easier to suppress spoilers and leaks of plot points by having fewer eyes on the full script. Of the entire cast, only Robert Downey Jr. got to read the full script for the film. Scarlett Johansson was pregnant during the filming of Avengers Age of Ultron. To hide her stomach, 3 stunt doubles were used. It became so confusing that Chris Evans recalled starting a conversation with one to realize later he was not speaking with the real Johansson. struggle to even get it made in the first place. Around 30 writers were offered the chance to write Iron Man, and they all passed. One of the reasons so many screenwriters turned down the chance was they considered Iron Man too obscure of a character, wherein the audiences wouldn't show up. Screenwriters Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus began working on the screenplay for both Avengers End Game and Avengers Infinity War. During the production of Captain America Civil War, at one point things got so hectic that Thor Ragnarok screenwriter Eric Pearson was brought in to help the two primary screenwriters out with the monumental two-parter. It's hard to picture a world where Iron Man isn't popular, but before the 2008 movie, that was the case. In fact, while building awareness about the character in the lead-up to the film's release, Marvel ran focus groups in order to teach audiences that the character was actually a man in a metal suit, not just a robot. Iron Man's suit has changed with the times, but the original suit was often shown being plugged into wall sockets for regular charging. The high-tech African nation of Wakanda was notably mentioned in Avengers Age of Ultron, getting fans excited for a potential Black Panther years before it actually was released. However, eagle-eyed fans would have noticed that this was not Wakanda's first appearance in the MCU. It was actually seen as a hotspot on Nick Fury's map in Iron Man 2, a whopping 8 years before the Black Panther hit theaters. Reportedly, 60 pages of ideas were crafted during the writing process of Avengers End Game and Avengers Infinity War. Whoa. Worried about the effects of fame on his private life, Chris Evans declined the role of Captain America 3 times before finally agreeing. Apparently, getting Evans to agree to a role is the same as summoning Beetlejuice. This webpage is really funny. In the first Captain America, Haley Atwell improvised to the touch on Chris Evans' chest when he emerged from the pod as the iconic superhero. The surprise on her face was genuine, as she was quite taken with Evans' physique, weren't we all? Yes. Nick Fury's tombstone in Winter Soldier features the quote, "The path of a righteous man," from Ezekiel 25:17, the same Bible passage that Samuel L. Jackson's character, Jules Winfield, famously spouts several times in Pulp Fiction. With Avengers End Game, Robert Downey Jr. has appeared as Tony Stark / Iron Man 10 times on screen. This beats Hugh Jackman's record for the most appearances as a superhero character, but while Jackman needed 17 years to set his record, Downey Jr. only did it in 11. Joe and Anthony Russo were selected to direct Winter Soldier on the basis of 2 episodes of the NBC sitcom Community, A Fistful of Paintballs and For a Few Paintballs More. Not a bad jump from a 30-minute TV comedy to 4 of the biggest blockbusters in history. Before there was the MCU and CGI, there was the Incredible Hulk TV show and Lou Ferrigno. Though the modern Hulk is created with the help of computers, the iconic bodybuilder has still managed to make his mark on the MCU. In addition to his cameo in 2008's The Incredible Hulk, he also voiced the Hulk in the first 2 Avenger movies. Though since Thor Ragnarok, their characters' voices simply been digitally altered. Mark Ruffalo. When Tony Stark looks through his father's Howard suitcase in Iron Man 2, you can see a Captain America comic book, as well as a map of the Arctic Circle where Captain America's plane went down. Avengers End Game is the 7th film in which Scarlett Johansson plays Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. is to create peace in our time. This same line was used by British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain after negotiations with Adolf Hitler in the late 1930s. Much like Stark's Ultron program, this failed. The New Mexico town where the first Thor movie was set is named Puente Antiguo, which means ancient bridge in Spanish. This is very likely a reference to the Bifrost, Thor's connection to Asgard. Chalk up another point for attention to detail in the MCU. It's been a subject of debate as to whether Endgame was always meant to be that film's title or whether it was a last-minute decision. What makes this more confusing is that Marvel Studios and the film's directors have both said different things about the situation. Marvel has maintained that Endgame was always the choice for the title, while the directors have said the original title was Infinity Gauntlet. Frankly, regardless of which version is true, we're happy with the result. That's true. Michael Straczynski. Oh, yikes, that's a difficult last name to pronounce. A writer of the Thor comic books makes a cameo in the first Thor as one of the men who attempt to pull Thor's hammer out of the ground. The shirt that Dr. Jane Foster, aka Natalie Portman, hands to Thor in the first Thor film belonged to an ex-boyfriend of hers named Donald Blake, MD. In the original comic books, Dr. Donald Blake was Thor's human alter ego. When Thor abducts Loki in the Avengers, two ravens fly by during their argument. These ravens are thought to be Hugin and Munin, who serve as agents of Odin in Norse mythology and in the Thor comic books. Well, Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans, who respectively played Thor and Captain America, each made $15 million for Endgame, just as they had for Avengers Infinity War. How far they've come, Evans made just $300,000 for his work on Captain America, the first Avenger. Those same ravens can be seen perched on either side of Odin's throne in Thor and in its sequel, The Dark World. I think this fact is referring to the one that was previously told. The gentle giant Korg was one of the standouts in Thor Ragnarok, but that wasn't technically the first time the character appeared in the MCU. At the beginning of Thor The Dark World, the hero battles a big rock monster that was based on Korg, who first appeared in the same comic book in which Thor made his debut, Journey into Mystery number 83. But since this version was never named in the movie, they were able to reintroduce Korg as everyone's favorite Kiwi-voiced alien years later in Ragnarok. I love Ragnarok. more sense when you know the full context. Harry Dean Stanton played one of the crew members that was killed by the titular creature in Alien. It seems like directors in the MCU can't pass up any opportunity to sneak in an Easter egg. For all the people who reprised their Marvel characters for Endgame, one person who did not return was Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron. It was widely assumed that he would be in the film, but he's nowhere to be seen in the final version of the film. In the comics, it's well known that Tony Stark is an alcoholic, and his battle with addiction was brought to light in the iconic 1978 Demon in a Bottle storyline. The fact that a superhero was forced to battle with such a human problem was revolutionary at the time. This was actually loosely adapted for the MCU in Iron Man 2, when Stark gets drunk at his birthday party and fights his friend James Rhodey Rhodes. Stan Lee based Iron Man, or more accurately, Tony Stark, on the real-life millionaire playboy philanthropist Howard Hughes, which must be where Stark got that iconic description for himself in the Avengers. Tony Stark can be seen wearing a Black Sabbath t-shirt in the Avengers. It's a solid reference to this band's song Iron Man, which has nothing to do with the Marvel character, but is a pretty awesome song. It played over the credits in the original Iron Man movie right after Tony declared, "I am Iron Man." One of the main inspirations for the story of Avengers End Game was a finale for the television series Star Trek The Next Generation. We won't go deeply into the similarities in case someone who didn't read the spoiler warning somehow managed to get this far. Chris Evans injured his bicep while filming the iconic Captain America Civil War shot of him essentially doing a bicep curl with a helicopter. Evans described it as a very unnatural position to use to stop something, but we used it because I have to flex my bicep. He also described the scene as bicep adult material. Black Panther originally had a much smaller role in Civil War, but when it seemed like they wouldn't be getting the rights to Spider-Man, the writers expanded his role significantly. By the time they found out that they did, in fact, have the rights to Spider-Man, Black Panther was already an integral part of the story, so they left him in and gave Spider-Man a smaller part. The massive cast of Avengers Endgame boasts 19 Oscar-nominated or Oscar-winning actors. The full list includes Michael Douglas, Angela Bassett, Robert Downey Jr., Robert Redford, Samuel L. Jackson, Gwyneth Paltrow, Taika Waititi, William Hurt, Tilda Swinton, Benedict Cumberbatch, Bradley Cooper, Brie Larson, and, well, you get the picture. Marvel decided it was best to change the name of a key character from the Black Panther comic who was featured in the 2018 film. The character of M'Baku is actually named Man-Ape in the comic. It is often covered in fur and wears an ape mask. I think it's pretty clear why Marvel thought some viewers might have an issue with that. The day before filming a fight scene in Civil War, Sebastian Stan sent Robert Downey Jr. a video of himself doing bicep curls in front of the decapitated head of an Iron Man suit with the attached message, "Looking forward to our scene tomorrow, Robert." Gwyneth Paltrow has stated that her part in Endgame will be her final appearance in a Marvel film. When the helicarriers were revealed for the first time in Winter Soldier, Nick Fury tells Captain America that the Stark tech was used to upgrade the propulsion systems. This is a nod back to Avengers when Iron Man had a bit of an adventure restarting the propeller-based engines of a helicarrier from an earlier generation. The new helicarriers use more advanced propulsor technology, similar to what the Iron Man suit uses. In some of the early Marvel Ultimates comic storylines, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver teased an incestuous relationship. Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson played around with the storyline in the Avengers Age of Ultron, as Olsen said that this inspired the way they acted around each other in the film. In Winter Soldier, when Larson, who plays Captain Marvel, filmed all her scenes for Avengers End Game before production on Captain Marvel had begun. In the comics, Black Panther became one half of a true power couple when he married X-Men member Storm in his homeland of Wakanda. Unfortunately, after Wakanda was attacked, T'Challa realized he needed to focus more on being a king than a husband, and the marriage was annulled. In Winter Soldier, Black Widow mentions the Canadian agency called Department H. This is the organization that created the Canadian superhero team Alpha Flight. The Great White North's answer to the Avengers. Anthony Mackie, who plays Falcon, wrote a series of emails to Marvel begging for any role as a comic book character. These emails caught the attention of Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios, who offered him the role. Between Endgame and Infinity War, the completed Infinity Gauntlet with the Infinity Stones are used for 4 different snaps. For some reason, I don't know why, I find it a little difficult to say gauntlet. I'm weird. Anthony Mackie reportedly wanted to be involved in a Marvel film so he could show his son and other black children that there are superheroes who look like them. I love that. The movies may take up a lot of airspace when it comes to the MCU, but the shared universe is also all over the silver screen, with over a dozen different TV shows and even more in production. In the case of the show Runaways, it was originally intended to be a film, and even had a completed script written by Drew Pearce, who co-wrote Iron Man 3, but it was shelved after the success of the first Avengers. A few years later, it found new life as a television series, and premiered on Hulu in 2017 to positive reviews. The opening scene of Avengers End Game, which features Clint Barton, Hawkeye, and his family, was originally meant to be part of the finale in Avengers Infinity War. However, it was determined that since Hawkeye wasn't in the film previously, it would serve better as a prologue to Endgame and as Hawkeye's reintroduction. Yeah, that scene was perfect to start it. Not everything can be a home run, and unfortunately, the TV show Inhumans is considered a rare failure in the MCU, hated by fans and critics alike. The show is the lowest rated property in the MCU, with an 11% rating from critics and 45% from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. It was cancelled just after 1 season, consisting of 8 episodes. It's no secret that Iron Fist is considered the weakest link out of all the Marvel Netflix shows, and it probably didn't help that the show was rushed through production. Finn Jones, who plays Danny Rand/Iron Fist, revealed that he would learn the fight choreography for a scene sometimes as soon as 15 minutes before filming. Whoa, yikes. 2 of Marvel's other superheroes are vaguely hinted at during the runtime of Avengers End Game. In one case, a character discusses a man named Braddock. This is a reference to Brian Braddock, better known as Captain Britain. The other reference comes when someone brings up a seismic event under the Atlantic Ocean. Fittingly, the Atlantic Ocean happens to be the home of Namor, Marvel's rough equivalent to Aquaman. The Marvel films and shows all exist in the MCU, and the shows don't shy away from mentioning their film counterparts, but they tend to do it in an awkward way. You may hear the character names Captain America, Thor, the Incredible Hulk, or Iron Man mentioned in the shows, but you'll also hear them referred to as the Black Waver, the big blonde dude with the hammer, the iron suit, or the Incredible Green guy, and those are just our favorites. Charlie Cox went the extra mile and then pulled back when it came to playing Daredevil. Rather than pretending to be blind, he had special contacts made blood, she passed out. Shields of various materials were constructed for the first Captain America film. Shields used for punching people were made from rubber. A magnetized shield was used whenever it was attached to Captain America's back, and any shield that was thrown was created digitally. Before it ultimately went to Chris Evans, Sam Worthington and Will Smith were in early talks for the role of Captain America. Also on the short list were Garrett Hedlund, Channing Tatum, Scott Porter, Mike Wilgel, Sebastian Stan, Wilson Bethel, John Krasinski, Michael Cassidy, Chase Crawford, Jensen Ackles, Kellen Lutz, Ryan Phillip, and Alexander Skarsgård, because evidently the producers didn't know the definition of the word short. Arguably, one of the most important characters in Avengers End Game was Nebula, also known as Karen Gillan. However, headlining such a big film as this doesn't mean that's the limit of Gillan's ambitions. While promoting the film, she made it clear that she would love to direct a film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Vibranium is a rare and fictional metal that can only be found in Wakanda. It's what was used to make Captain America's shield and Black Panther's suit. After years of being a redhead, Black Widow went blonde in Infinity War. Having appeared with a different hairstyle in each of her appearances, the choice to go platinum was an homage to Yelena Belova, the second character who uses the moniker of Black Widow in Marvel Comics. In the Avengers, Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner mentions a botched suicide attempt. This is a reference to a deleted scene from 2008's The Incredible Hulk, starring Edward Norton. In Avengers End Game, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts are revealed to have had a daughter named Morgan together. This child is a reference to the son that Tony had in the comics. This makes for the fourth time that the Marvel films had changed the sex of a comics character from male to female. The previous examples were the Ancient One in Doctor Strange, Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Marvel in Captain Marvel. Jarvis, the name of Iron Man's first AI assistant, is an acronym for Just a Rather Very Intelligent System. A partially disassembled prototype of Captain America's shield can be seen in Tony Stark's workshop in Iron Man 2. In all three Iron Man films, signs, buildings, and trucks can be seen bearing the logo for Roxxon Energy, which in the Marvel Comics is the oil company responsible for the murder of Tony Stark's parents. Anyone interested in a remarkable Easter egg should pay attention to the Endgame scene during the third act when the Wasp appears for the first time. If you look next to her, you can see Howard the Duck standing with the rest of the Avengers. While Tony Stark is rich, he's not the richest Marvel superhero. That honor goes to Black Panther, who is worth 5 times as much as Stark. The owner of the pizza shop in 2008's The Incredible Hulk is played by Paul Soles, the voice of Bruce Banner from the 1960s Hulk cartoon. In Winter Soldier, the fighter that is taken hostage at the beginning is called the Lumerian Star, a reference to the sunken kingdom of Lumeria, home to a race called the Deviants in the Marvel Comics. Part of Avengers End Game takes place in the Norwegian city of Tønsberg. I'm sorry if I butchered that. This is actually the third time that the city, known as the oldest city in Norway, makes an appearance in the series. It appears in the opening of both Thor and Captain America, the First Avenger. When Red Skull finds the Tesseract in Captain America, the First Avenger, he mentions that the Fuhrer is too busy digging for trinkets in the desert. This was in reference to Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Nazis dug up a trinket that, spoilers, ends up kind of, melting their faces off. That trinket was the Ark of the Covenant. When he flees from the Hydra Fortress in Captain America, Dr. Arnim Zola stuffs a bunch of papers in his briefcase, one of which is a blueprint for the robotic body that his character inhabits in the comic books. He would never actually make the suit in the MCU, instead inhabiting a bunch of ancient computers, as revealed in Winter Soldier. The mysterious alien played by Benicio del Toro in Guardians of the Galaxy stays true to his his name. He collects a lot of things. Included in his collection are a Giatori soldier from the Avengers, Cosmo the dog, one of the original Guardians in the comics, and Howard the duck. When Clint Barton, Hawkeye, and Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, journey to find the Soul Stone in Endgame, they come across a stone's guardian who greets Barton as Clint, son of Eden. This is a poignant reference to Barton's origin story in the comics. Barton was very close to his mother, Edith, while despising his father, Harold. Harold's alcoholism eventually led him to killing himself in a car accident along with Edith. All fans know that the mighty Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, which has been described as one of the most formidable weapons known to man or God, but most people don't realize just how powerful it really is. In the comics, the weapon is actually capable of creating force fields so powerful that they can destroy an entire galaxy. In the comics, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, had a pet cat named Chewie, except that Chewie ended up not being an actual cat, but a flurkin, an alien creature that disguises itself as a cat, but actually has giant tentacles and fangs. The only reason she found out about its true form was that Rocket Raccoon was able to sniff it out. I love Rocket. Given that Endgame is all about time travel, there is an inevitable scene where several time travel movies get named by the characters. One of these is Back to the Future, but a subtler reference is also given to that movie in another scene when Thor leaves New Asgard to join the Avengers again. He's wearing the same kind of sunglasses worn by Marty McFly in Back to the Future Part 2. To get into shape for Captain Marvel, Brie Larson trained for 9 months to be as authentic as possible for when she appears on screen as Danvers. Larson actually visited an Air Force base, met with various pilots, and learned about different fighter jets. She even got the chance to fly in one. There were actually plans to have Captain Marvel appear in 2 separate Marvel properties before her movie was made. A cameo in Age of Ultron and a much bigger role in Jessica Jones. In fact, Captain Marvel was supposed to be Jones' best friend / sidekick, but ended up being replaced by the character Trish Walker, who the writers felt was a better fit for Jones. Nicole Perlman, co-writer of the Captain Marvel movie, mentioned in an interview that they slightly tweaked Danvers' written story for the movie to avoid any similarities to DC's Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern movie. While it's hard to find anyone who would say that the writing in Avengers End Game was below par, the writers themselves didn't walk away without misgivings about their own talent. Looking back on the film, Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus have expressed their remorse for not giving Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes more scenes together, given how closely they've been tied together across the film. Captain Marvel has quite a few tie-ins to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, as one of the co-writers, Nicole Perlman, was a co-writer for the first Guardians movie, and 2 characters from that movie, Ronan the Accuser and Korath, returned for Captain Marvel. And the last one is, everyone knows Black Panther has superhuman strength and reflexes, but his brain might actually be his greatest power. He has a PhD in physics from Oxford University, and he's considered to be one of the 8 smartest people in the entire Marvel universe. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed those facts as much as I loved reading them and actually getting to know them. I had no idea how incredibly detailed, everything in the MCU really is. Like in those films, like they actually pay attention to every single little small detail. I mean, I'm surprised but not actually surprised, because I know there are really good people out there who really do pay attention, especially the directors. But, oh, and let me know down in the comments below who's your favorite Marvel character. I know for me, it's Captain America and Scarlet Witch. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night,